You're live. Oh my gosh. Moxie
Episode
Mondays, here we are, Nicole.
Episode 3, Moxie Monday. Hello, hello.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. How are you, my fellow Nicole?
I am great.
Good.
I'm not at the beach,
I know. Can you tell I'm at the
but
beach? I'm like, this is my,
I am by
this
the
is,
lake, so that counts for something.
yes, it does. Lovely. It's summer. It's time to be by the water, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So true.
It
We
sure is.
were swimming yesterday, and I'm at the beach this week. I'm in the Outer Banks, and it's a family reunion. I have like a house full of all my nieces and nephews. There's more children than adults in this house. And all of them were swimming in the pool yesterday and having so much fun. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, what is it about the water that just makes us
Yeah,
want to
right?
play as humans? It's so rewarding. But anyway,
Yeah,
that's
I
another
mean,
topic for another
I was
day.
going to say, we might have to just dig into that someday.
Mhm.
See what everyone's theories are there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just forces us to go into this more peaceful state and just realize that everything's okay. I think there's something with water that is just like, oh, okay, we're good. So, speaking of Moxie Monday, we have started Moxie Mondays to lean in to conversations, big, meaty conversations around the challenges women face that keep us small. And today's topic is finding your tribe, not just a contact. I love this one so much. I think at face value, it might seem obvious, but I would imagine everyone has a really personal story around what this means to them. For me, there's a lot in this topic that is connected to staying small. So I'm in my mid 30s. I've been doing the work thing for over 10 years. And I remember in the beginning, it was like I knew that getting out of your comfort zone and meeting people was something that you just did. But I didn't do it hardly at all. And if I did, I was frozen with fear. And so I avoided it as much as I could. And when I would, get kind of pushed into showing up at these events, with all these, people that I dubbed as, more successful or just further along, I realized now that it was so driven. My approach to it back then was so driven by fear, like a fear of judgment and just a lack. Like I was not enough. And so, speaking of things that keep us small, that was a huge part of it for me. I was isolated, right? And we know, looking into the research, why we're doing this in the first place, Nicole, feelings of isolation are huge, not just for all of us right now in the world that we live in, very digital world, very AI driven, obsessed world, but especially for women in industries where they are underrepresented. That isolation is huge. And so I'm happy to report throwing myself out there and just leaning into the fear was something I really did for the first time truly last year. I attended Mark Schaefer's Uprising, and it was the most terrifying. It's not networking, but work related event that I ever attended. And it was because the people there are so impressive. And I don't mean that from a status point of view, but the boldness, the people in that community just go for it. And not only that, I've never felt so supported And so that event that scared the hell out of me more than anything. And also, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, that's where I met Nicole.
Yes.
That event led me to creating my tribe, because it was people that, yes, were a lot of them years ahead of me in terms of their career, but there was shared value, and the amount of support and inspiration I've gotten from building that tribe has just, I mean, I can hardly put words to it. The last time I left, so I've been twice. The last one I left on the final night, I was in tears, and I'm honestly not that emotional. I really am not. So for me to like be emotional over just so much gratitude for these people in my life was just something I'll never forget. And I think what I hope that women, or just anyone listening, man or woman, like early in your career, or maybe you're just more of an introvert and still shying away from this, it's so worth it just to, throw yourself out into these scenarios where you're scared for a great reason. If I could just go back to Nicole before that first event, and just have her sit with that fear, and have that Nicole realize that fear is from just the sheer magnitude of these people, I think I would have been able to kind of transform that fear into excitement. But it's all good now. We're here. I'm here with Nicole Donnelly.
Yes.
I am, connected with so many amazing people from that tribe. And I think before I hand it over to you, Nicole, because you're such a connector. So I really want you to share your personal story with this. I just want to add that, wow, I totally 100% honestly lost my train of thought there.
When we're live, that is like, you have officially made it when you do that. I can't tell you, it's amazing. Don't worry.
Unfortunately, we can't roll a bloopers reel from this. We are live.
That's what makes it magic, right?
Yeah, I just can't stress enough how much it's transformed me to have connection with this tribe. And maybe that was the point I was going to make. And I think there's so much in what we're trying to do with this mentorship event that is exactly this. So, Nicole, share your experience with this, and just like, what's the connection here with Hello Moxie, the Moxie method, and what we're trying to do with this intergenerational mentorship?
Yeah, well, first of all, I just have to say, when I met you last year at the Uprising and got a chance to get to know you, I just immediately felt like I belonged with you. Mm-hmm. Like, you just had this like natural, there was just such an affinity there. And I think that's what's so beautiful about that community, is that it feels like it's really been, everyone belongs, mm-hmm. with each other. And I think you definitely were, it's interesting how you say you felt like everyone there was so bold and brave, but you are too. Like, you were one of those people. When I saw you at the event, I was like, she sold her agency. Like, that is badass. Like, not many people who own businesses do that. Like, that's a huge accomplishment.
Well, thank you. It's crazy how we need those cheerleaders in our lives, though, because I certainly wasn't going around with this, like, this layer of confidence from doing that. But meeting you and meeting that crew is just like, that was the other beautiful side of it, was that I was told that by that tribe, you and others, just like, hey, you got it, girl. Like, that's not a small thing.
Yeah.
And that's another piece that's so important. It's like, we have to have those people that that see that. and remind us, because we can get so trapped in our what we don't have or what we haven't done.
Yeah, totally. I like to call it courage companions. You need courage companions who are there alongside of you to support you whenever you're making really big decisions. I mean, research confirms this, that people who have a really strong social network, when they face adversity, they are much more likely to overcome that adversity when someone else who doesn't have as strong of a social network has that same
Mhm.
exact type of experience. So having those courage companions is just so critical for us to be able to handle fear, because, fear is normal. Like, it is so normal for people to experience fear, no matter what level of your career that you're at. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, when I took this public speaking class last year. It's just, I'll never forget. I was in the room with like 50 other people, and these are elite people who are really successful. I mean, we're talking like war veterans, world-class marketing leaders, you know, Silicon Valley superstars. Like, I was in the room with these people, and I remember walking in and I was utterly terrified. So terrified. I'm going to get on a stage and be vulnerable and share my story and my intellectual property in front of these like elite superstars. But it was so interesting. Like, I felt that fear, but I knew, like, in my heart, every time I walked in the room, there was also so much joy. So, like, I was terrified, but at the same time, my heart was like expansive. I was having such fun with these people. And so it was like this interesting juxtaposition of feeling terrified, but also feeling so much just aliveness, is the only way I can say to describe it. It was such a growth edge to be surrounded by these people. And so every time I'd walk in the room, I would literally say to myself, what is it that I can learn from the people in this room? What is it they
Mhm.
have to teach me? Like, that was my assignment. I was like, if nothing else, I'm okay to just be a sponge and see what can I learn from all of these people, and how can I soak in the way that they interact. And it was such a, like, immediately, like, that the way that the course was set up, from the day you walk in, the first message you hear is, you belong here. You belong here. Like, we heard that over and over again. No matter where you're at, what stage of your career you're in, what's happened to you in your life, you belong in this room. And I
Mm.
think that you you have to believe that internally, that you belong in the room, for you to really be able to open yourself up and overcome the fear. It's
Yeah.
just having a sense of I belong here. And the way, like, just kind of bringing it back to the Moxie method, to get to that point, you have to know yourself and trust yourself. Like, you
Yep.
really have to have done the work, spend time with yourself, practicing stillness, connecting with yourself, understanding somatically what your body is telling you when your body is telling you it's alive, and listening to that and being able to label it and trust it, and being able to really know how your body works, and then stepping into these opportunities of play and curiosity and experimentation, and continue to let that lead you, so that you feel comfortable and confident enough in yourself,
Yeah.
step into those uncomfortable situations.
So I have a question. I I think so much, what I hope that Hello Moxie can bring to women is to help them get there sooner. And
Yeah.
so I'm curious, Nicole, because your journey has really been the product, quote unquote, of the Moxie method.
Yeah.
And, both of us have a decade plus, almost couple decades into the workforce. And so it's like, I'm curious to know how would Nicole Donnelly in her 20s, early, mid, late 20s approach that same room?
Mm.
Because something you said was, I loved, it just resonated so much. You said you approach that room with, what can I learn from these people? And I think so often, and this is from my experience early on, it's like, what do I have to give? Like, these people couldn't possibly learn something from me. They're so accoladed, right? Like they're already, what could they possibly learn from me? And I think it's like that ends up flipping at some point where you've developed this this inner peace with who you are, this knowingness of who you are, and it's showing up with curiosity, and that's really how you connect with people. So I know that's a totally loaded delivery here, but like, what does that look like for you? Like, what was that shift? And it was Nicole Donnelly, how would she have approached that early on? And how can we help women get there sooner?
Well, mentorship.
Oh, drum roll.
So I will say early in my career, I had some incredible mentors, female mentors. And when my first job out of college, actually it was my second job out of college. I remember I was working at a research company and I'd worked there for a couple of years, and I was just feeling like, I'm an ambitious, no surprise here. I'm ambitious. And I was like, I want more than where I was at. I was just like a cog in a wheel for this big organization. And my heart and my passion was like, there's so much more that I want to do, So I had this opportunity for this job opportunity to work for a small woman-owned business. And I come from a long line of entrepreneurs. My dad was a successful entrepreneur. My grandfather was a successful entrepreneur. My great-grandfather, my great-great-great-grandfather, and I have a great-great-great-great-grandmother, no joke, who opened a bakery in Copenhagen, Denmark. And in the 1860s, she used to cater to the King of Denmark. Like, no joke. So anyways, there's like this long line of entrepreneurship in my family. And so I always had this, cool. Isn't that like, her name was Sophie, and she's so baller and she's very complicated. In fact, I like her life story is fascinating. That's like a topic for another show. But
I would do this one.
She was amazing. But so where was I going with that entrepreneurship? Okay. So this small woman-owned business. And so I saw this small woman-owned business and I was like, I immediately knew, like, I knew myself, and I was like, I want to work for this company. This is interesting to me. It was a small company. They had maybe 25 employees, women owned. And I remember I walked into the interview, the first to be interviewed, and sitting around the table were these three stunningly beautiful women, the CEO, the CFO, and the COO. And I sat down and I immediately was like, I want to work for these women. I knew that those women were going to help me get to the next level. And I wanted to put myself in that position. And so I remember I after the interview, I sent like this follow-up email, just like, I really want this position. Like, I was just like so passionate and enthusiastic about it. And that was kind of a long shot, but I got the job. And so having the chance to have them as mentors for the next 5 years was, for me, I look back on it now and I think looking back on it, I don't fully realize until now what an impact that had for me, because I was able to see them, like that whole, like, if you can see it, you can be it, is so true. I saw someone build an 8-figure business, an executive team of women. So it was like, I saw that and I'm like, if they can do it, why the hell can't I do it? Why can't I do these things? I saw them have to make really difficult decisions. I saw them make mistakes. I saw them like in tears having to do layoffs. I saw them lose accounts and have to repivot everything and pick themselves up and do it again. I saw them at their weakest moments. And these were leaders, like these were women. And I saw them in their most vulnerable moments. And it was massively inspiring to me, because I was like, oh my gosh, these are just like women. And the difference, what it was that made the difference is that when they fell down and they made a mistake, they got themselves up and they just kept going. And they made mistakes, and they weren't perfect. Like, definitely not, there's definitely things I learned that I'm like, I don't want to do that, and that's the thing about having a mentor, is like having someone. Anyway, I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole,
No,
but
no,
so I
no,
would say mentorship
absolutely
is the thing. Like, if you're new in your career, be intentional about putting yourself with people who are ahead of you,
not.
who
Mhm.
can show you the way. So like, and I think you also said something really and really, really smart about, you know, if you're new in your career, you think you don't have anything to offer, but that is absolutely, like, that's could be
It's a lie.
people who are, it's a lie, because people who are further in their career, they need to hear the fresh,
Yes.
new perspectives of people who are younger, who have a different lived experience. Your lived experience, no matter where you are in your career, has value. It is so important because it's diversity of thought, it's diversity of opinion, and it's diversity that's what creates innovation. Innovation dies where there's no diversity. So the fact that you have a different perspective is what is, you should own that and celebrate that and
Mm.
say, like, you know what? Oh, I don't have as much experience from as they do. And but reframe it.
Yep.
I am young and vibrant and hungry, and I have a different lived experience that brings value.
Mhm.
Like, it's in the reframe of, instead of looking at it as a weakness, looking at it as an opportunity. And I'll say that in the Magento community that I'm part of, which is a massively beautiful example of inclusion and diversity. The Magento community is incredibly inclusive, and they intentionally have sought out diverse voices. I've seen it time and time again. They intentionally sought out my voice. I've seen them intentionally seek out other voices in the community that are, not your traditional male white tech voice, and I've seen that and been part of it, and it's massively inspiring. And I remember when I first started being asked to speak up, my first reaction was, what do I have to share? I'm so different than everyone else in this community. I'm not a developer. I haven't been in the e-commerce industry for 20 plus years. I'm
Mhm.
new to this industry. I'm a marketer. I'm a woman. I work in the manufacturing industry. Like, I'm not working with enterprise level clients. Like, I felt like a unicorn
Yep.
when I was first being invited to speak up. And I remember at first I was like, oh my gosh, I'm such a unicorn. And I remember the second time I spoke in this community, I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, I am a unicorn. And that's exactly why I need to be here, because nobody's thinking
Yes.
about these problems. They need this perspective. I was talking about change management and people management.
Mhm.
And there was so much focus on like the technical aspects of building an e-commerce store, but nobody was talking about, well, how do we navigate change and how do we get people on board? And it's so complex. And here are like the emotional intelligence issues that we need to be thinking about. Nobody was talking about that. And so I
Yeah.
realized, like, I need to own this unicorn thing. Like, it's important. So that's why I would say, like, wherever you are in your career, don't think about like your lack of experience as a weakness. Think about what it is about your lived experience that is a gift.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's so important, and we touched on this a little bit last week, of like sometimes you're going to speak up and it's going to flop, or it's not going to be well received.
Yeah.
And it's so important to not absorb that as something is wrong with you. You talk
Mhm.
about this Magento community. They are inclusive.
Yeah.
They want to hear your unique perspective because they want to make decisions in the organization to be inclusive and um, to change, with in the right ways. And we can't change in the right ways unless we hear from diverse perspectives, and we have our antennas up about, what younger generations are saying, what they're needing, what we didn't give women, previously. And
Mm.
so if you're speaking up in an organization, or somewhere you leaned into fear and you showed up and it doesn't land, just leave and find a new room. or a new organization, because it's, I think I've experienced this. I think we all have, if we're 10 plus years into our career, there are people in organizations that will say one thing, but their actions will show otherwise. They may say they want to, hear your voice and take that into consideration and make the right changes, but it doesn't always play out.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I've unfortunately absorbed it as, in that scenario, that it wasn't the organization or the room, it was me. There was something that I said wrong or did wrong, and I needed to change, and it's such a sham.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's just like when you have a connection with a person, right? Like Nicole and I met each other and we're like, yes, this is yeah,
Yes.
there's chemistry here. Like, we have shared values. There's, like, we could just talk for hours about the things that light us up, and working together has proven that, because we've worked amazing together, and we've been able to create something really cool. And if you don't have that, your life, there's just going to be so much friction that's just not worth it. So, like, don't force don't don't try to make square peg round hole work. Just, just move on and find the room that is for you.
Yeah.
And that's your tribe, right? Like, that's building your tribe, and knowing that like, that is a huge accomplishment on its own.
Yeah.
Finding those people, but you have to know yourself first, right? So
Sure.
that you can be confident and not absorbing it as it's something that you did wrong or your incompleteness.
Yeah, exactly. That knowing yourself, like I can't emphasize enough, that stillness phase is it just about being comfortable doing nothing. Like you don't have to prove yourself to be okay. And the more you just spend time with yourself, like in nature, like literally, I remember I'll sit down and I'll sit and I'll study the trees. Okay. The tree sits there.
Yeah.
It does like it literally like it just sits there and it grows. Like it's not spinning around trying to prove anything, I just think there's a lot we can learn from nature. And the more time we spend in stillness in nature, in those situations, the
By
more
the
we
water.
learn by the water. We just learn like we are enough without the proving. And then once you really start to like it's like in you, it's like in your body, you show up differently. You just do. When you really know that and it's part of you, it's like in you, you're able to become more playful and experiment and be more curious. You lean into the things, you know who you are and what you're great at. You have awareness so that you can redirect into a different direction if it's not a fit much more easily. And you're much more comfortable to step into fear because you just trust yourself to navigate it. You're like, this is scary, but it feels right. And I'm going to do it. And I know I'm going to be okay if it doesn't work out because I trust myself to take care of myself, And
Yeah.
and you have to get comfortable. Like if you want to grow, fear is always going to be there. Like it's like I've realized like I want the discomfort. Like I don't want to be in a place where I'm not feeling the discomfort because I know if I'm in discomfort that I'm growing. So it's like you have to get comfortable feeling that and seeking it out in a healthy way, right? Like, but that's the only way that you're going to grow is if you just realize that complacency isn't the pathway for you to grow. It's like really just you go to the gym, it doesn't feel good. It's not fun to like lift heavy weights, but that's how you grow, so it's just, and I would say like, if you're newer in your career, one of the things is you have to be prepared to really work hard. You have to show the people, your mentors, you have to show up, and in return. So like, if that was one of the things I would say, like when I got that job and it was my dream job, I was so passionate and determined to just like deliver. And
Mm-hmm.
I put in the work. And I think there's a way that you can do that with boundaries, with healthy
Yeah.
boundaries, so that you're not, like, burning yourself out or whatever. But
Yeah.
people see that. People see that if you're committed and you're doing the work, that they're going to show up for you too if you're giving.
Well, yeah, I mean, I love that you started speaking about stillness first and then you went into working hard. Because
Yeah.
if you skip the getting to know yourself, being at peace with
Mhm.
yourself, and just move into the hard work, that's when we're working harder than is healthy. That's the
Totally.
working hard and spinning, working
Yeah.
hard and being full of fear and not sure how to redirect it, working hard and not thinking clearly. So
Yeah.
that stillness is so much of it. And I think I Nicole, you've had a lot more experience with mentorship early on than I did, and I've shared several times. And I know we're at the time here, so I'm just wrapping up. Honestly, um, it, I don't really believe in regrets, but I know that if I had a mentor early on, I would have saved myself years of turmoil, no doubt, because I wasn't that stillness for me was spin. Like if I was ever still, it was like not knowing how um to listen to those thoughts and those fears and take healthy action. It was just living in them constantly, and then like I said, like working hard, but working harder than was necessary because I didn't take the time to really sort through them. And like the wisdom of a woman who's been there, years ahead of you, like they know exactly what that is. In a
Yeah.
second, they know what that is. So that is why we're both here. We talked about this early on. We didn't really even know how we were going to work together 2 months ago. We honestly didn't. We did not know mentorship was a thing that we were going to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, it's true.
True. So we like connected everything back to it's so important to save, to throw the life jacket to the other women so that they don't have to live in that for any longer than what
Yeah.
they've already experienced. So
Totally.
yeah, that's why we're doing this, and that's why we're showing up every week, is just to continue to invite other women to consider these same challenges and to just invite more women into the conversation. We're only in week 3. We hope to invite guests onto this show, and so if you're listening still at 33 minutes 3 minutes past, and you want to be on this Moxie Monday, you want to speak up boldly and share your perspectives, please reach out. Next week, we are going to be talking about the inner critic, uh, how we can listen to it, how we can quiet it, and through it, own our voice, own our space. So that's what we'll be bringing to the show next week.
Yay.
Any closing words, Nicole? We definitely want Nicole to go enjoy her family. So,
Closing words for today would be, you deserve to have mentorship and support no matter where you're at in your career. And it can change your life. I know it's helped me. And so we would love for you to join our mentorship event that we have. It's on July 18th. We will share the link to the event. I think it's actually it's actually the link to the event. The registration link is in this
is it
description.
okay? I mean, I
Yeah.
know we put it everywhere we could.
Yeah. But
If
you
you're
can find
looking
us on
for it,
Moxie,
yeah,
LinkedIn. Yes. And it's a great opportunity. We have 10 rock star senior women in tech lined up. And I know these women all personally. And I just have to say, oh my gosh, I'm getting overclumped. These women care. They care so much about giving back and helping and supporting. And I think if I could say one thing, it's that there are people that care about you and want you to be successful. They're there, and they're out there. They're part of this event because they want to help you rise. And there are people out there that want you to be part of their community, and we want you to be part of ours. So come and join us. It's going to be amazing. We'd love to have you. You belong with us. So.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much, everyone who listened, and we'll see you next week.